Hello everybody, welcome back to yet another video of FikarNot.com, now FikarNot from Studies. So today we are going to do a very interesting chapter and one of my favorites actually, Invictus by William Ernest Henley. So before we even start this chapter, what is Invictus? Invictus means as a whole. It means unbeatable, unconquerable. That means no one can beat you and no one can conquer over you. When I even talk about, Invictus, like unbeatable, unconquerable, what would you think would be the theme of the poem? Something related to no one can beat you, right? Or no one can conquer over you. So let's keep an estimation on what the theme might be. My estimation is unbeatable and something related to pain. So let's see if our estimation goes right while we discuss the theme of the poem at the end of this chapter. So without further ado, let's get into it. Out of the night that covers me, black as the pit from pole to pole, I thank whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul. So in these lines, what we are saying is out of the night that covers me, that means the darkness. Over here, darkness is, or the night is related to something called suffering. So out of the night that covers me, that covers the poet. Me is the poet over here. So out of the night that covers the poet, as in the night, right? Or you can say the poet talks about how when darkness covers him completely, right? Which means hardships or difficulties that he has to face in his life. And that darkness is black as the pit from pole to pole. Black as the pit actually means, if we talk about some word meanings, black as the pit would mean the suffering and difficulties has taken over the poet, has taken over his mind, has taken over the poet's mind. Black as the pit. So that darkness that has covered the poet is as dark as a pit, as dark as a hole. If you go into a tunnel without light, how dark it will be, you won't be able to make out where you're going. Is it straight, right, left, or backwards? Right? You would probably just know where your body is moving, right, left, but you don't know how you're walking, right? You may be walking on something very disgusting or something very nice. So that darkness is so dark, as in the difficulties that he's facing in his life is so dark and so painful from pole to pole. That means from North Pole to South Pole. I thank whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul. So over here he is saying thank you to God. Thank you, God. Thank you so much for my unbeatable soul. I thank you for giving me such an unbeatable soul that there are so many difficulties in my life. The whole, the darkness, the suffering, darkness, it's completely covered me. But still, I am unbeatable. And so is my soul. Perfect. So with this, we come to an end of the first paragraph. Let's look at the poetic devices and the rhyming scheme. So over here, we have a lot of poetic devices. Actually, we have 4 to 5 poetic devices. So first one is personification, that is night. Night is personified as the sufferings that the poet has in his life, right? So I think you agree with me on this, right? As written over here as well. And you also write it. Oops, I'm sorry. Yeah. Night talks about the sufferings that the poet has gone through. Then out of the night that covers me. It's also a metaphor because the night represents the dark times and hardships. So covering me will talk about the night that represents, the dark times and hardships that the poet has had in his life. Okay? Black as the pit is an imagery because we are imagining, black as the pit. It's so black, as in his hardships are so black. It's so dark that it's so deep, right? So that would be an imagery. Pole to pole is an alliteration, right? Pole to pole. Simile, black as the pit, as the, so it'll be a simile. And yes, these are all the rhyming, not rhyming, sorry, poetry devices that we have. Now moving on to the rhyming scheme will be AB, AB, because me, B matches, so A, and pole to soul, so BB, right? So it's AB, AB. So out of the night that covers me, black as the pit from pole to pole, I thank whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul. Okay, so now that we're done with this paragraph, let's go on to the next one. In the fell clutch of circumstance, I have not winced nor cried aloud. Under the bludgeonings of chance, my head is bloody but unbowed. In the fell clutch of circumstance, what does this mean? Fell clutch of circumstance. This means the unavoidable grip of fate. The grip that fate has on your life. It can just throw you across in 1 second and get you back up with good news in 1 second. The grip that fate has in your life is like no other. Right? As I just said, your life could just turn upside down in a second and also come back to normal in a second. So, in any conditions that the poet may be trapped in, of faith, of course, the faith has given him difficulties and hardships throughout his life, he has not winced nor cried aloud. He has not begged to God, oh God, what have you done? This is all because of you that I'm in this situation. But we see in the first paragraph, instead, he thanks God for making him stronger after putting him so many hardships. And he takes this as a positive note. This just shows how optimistic he is. Under the bludgeonings of chance, my head is bloody but unbowed. Under the bludgeonings mean the cruel blows of faith, or you can just say cruel blows of faith, right? So under the bludgeonings of chance, my head is bloody. That means he may be in pain. How much ever does the poet gets beaten by fate again and again and again through hardships or sufferings, right? Or by difficulties for that matter as well. His head may be bloody, which means of complete pain, but unbowed, which means he has not given up or bowed down to his difficulties. He has not, it's almost like his faith is an opponent over here and he is fighting against his faith. The faith again and again knocks him down. But he stands back up and isn't giving up, or isn't telling to faith, hey, I'm done. My head is bowed and that's it. I don't want to be thrown out anymore. But he stands back up and his head is unbowed. Beyond this place of wrath and tears. Before I go on to the next paragraph, again, let's look at the rhyming scheme of this paragraph and also the poetry devices. So the rhyming scheme will be CD, CD. It won't be AB, AB, because if we say AB, AB, me, B, circumstance, all of this should be matching, but it's not. So me, B is matching, so it's A over there, and over here it will be circumstance, chance, so CC, and allowed, unbowed, DD, so it's CD, CD. So until now it's AB, AB, CD, CD. Then personification, we have over here under the bludgeonings of chance. It's personified as chance as a human who can hit him, right? The chance is personified as a human. A chance as in, the faith. So the faith is called a human in which he is fighting with, and that chance has hit him, right? And put him in pain, of course. Perfect. Now let's go on to the third paragraph. Beyond this place of wrath and tears looms but the horror of shade, and yet the menace of years finds and still shall find me unafraid. So beyond this place of wrath and tears, I think this line is pretty clear, right? This place, as in the place of earth, beyond this place in earth that is full of anger and tears everywhere, people probably they lost someone in their life, someone important in their life, someone got bad marks in their examinations, or someone lost their job, or someone is angry, someone's boss is angry at someone, right? Beyond this place, that means this place, this earth that is complete of just anger and tears everywhere, looms but the horror of the shade. That means the great death fear stands in front of the poet because of so many difficulties that he has already faced. And yet the menace of the years. And on top of that, he also has the problems of old age. Finds and shall find me unafraid. So even beyond this place of tears and anger, the poet has a great fear of death. And on top of that, also the problems of old age. But after all of this, what happens? Finds and shall find him unafraid. That means he will not give up and he will not bow down to his faith. So it's almost like the great fear of death that stands before the poet, and yet the problems of old age does not make him bow down or the poet afraid, and shall not do so. Unseen future of upcoming challenges, right? It's almost like the unseen future that the poet has of the upcoming challenges, the looms of the horror of the shade, right? Now when I'm saying unseen future of upcoming challenges. Why? Because the great fear of death will be an upcoming challenge, right? But it still finds him unafraid. Perfect. Now, the rhyming scheme is again EF because tears, years, shade, unafraid. And the poetic device over here is first this place of wrath and tears, imagery. And the horror of the shade is a metaphor. Why? Because the unseen future or upcoming challenges that the poet has in front of him is definitely a metaphor. Okay, then let's go on to the last and final paragraph. It matters not how straight the gate is, how charged with punishments the scroll. I am the master of my faith, and I am the captain of my soul. So it matters not how straight the gate is. When I read this line, what you can say what is that first thought that comes to your mind? Definitely, right? Why is the poet talking about gates? He was just talking about sufferings 1 second ago. Why is he talking about gates now? Well, this line over here has a deeper meaning. How straight the gate talks about the narrow gate that he has to pass through. And he has to pass through meaning after he dies. And that is the afterlife. How charged with punishments the scroll. As in, right? I think we all know, and we know a little about afterlife, right? Afterlife, there's something called heaven and there's something called hell, right? These are the two phases of life that you will have to face after you go to afterlife. I don't know if it's true. This is what we have read in books, and that is what everyone says, of course, right? And so is the poet saying now. How charged with punishments the scroll. That means how many bad deeds have you done? How charged the scroll, as in the book in which all your bad deeds are written, right? All the bad deeds, as in your karma, right? What you do, something bad that you do, you get the same, right? If you are a part of the suffering of someone and you take it as your happiness while watching that person suffer, it's your karma, right? That's what will happen to you next. Probably someone else will laugh at your sufferings, and that will be their happiness, while it will be the baddest of the baddest times that you have had in your lives. So it matters not how many punishments that the poet has to go through after his death, and how narrow the gate is. He will pass through it somehow, or even if he passes through it somehow, he may be punished for his bad deeds all over his life. But at the end, he is the master of his faith, and he is the captain of his soul. Now, these two lines are so famous that even Nelson Mandela, if you know, it was his favorite poem, and especially these last two lines. He's said this multiple times in his speeches. I'm the master of my faith and I'm the captain of my soul. No one can defeat me. How much ever does my faith come over me? That's what the poet is saying, right? How much ever do I get beaten by the faith, or beaten by my faith, of course. How much ever does the faith, or I'm talking the faith as in like a human over here, okay? That's why I'm calling it the faith. So, how much ever does the faith again and again knock him down again and again and again? He is the master of his fate. That means he is the one that decides that will I get knocked down by faith? And over here, I also want to ask you one more question. Do you agree with the last two lines of the poem, or do you think the environment, society, or other factors like luck play a part in deciding our fate? Well, one thing that we all know is that the society, and we normally say, hey, beginner's luck. We have luck in our life. We normally say that, right? But the poet over here says, I'm the master of my fate. That means luck is just a factor that people have made up. But the hardships that you go through, you get to decide how you want to go through it. Do you want to be optimistic or do you want to be pessimistic? That means, do you want to face it with full courage and take it as a blessing that God is giving you such an unbeatable soul that keeps getting beaten but doesn't break? Or do you want to creep to God saying that, what life have you given me? You keep hitting me and beating me and knocking me down. I'm tired of it. So now think over this line again. Are you the master of your faith? Are you the captain of your soul? Well, I definitely think so. Luck may be a factor that be in your life. Luck as in you may win a lottery. But taking it in a pessimistic or optimistic way, living that luck is in your hands. And no one can take that away from you. And that is why, once again, I am the master of my faith and I am the captain of my soul. Perfect. So over here we only have one poetic device, which is metaphor. That's how straight the gate. It is related to the narrow gate that the poet has to pass through after his death. That's afterlife. And the rhyming scheme is GH. Perfect. So now that we're done with this poem, let's go ahead and talk about the poet a bit, because MCU questions such as who was William Ernest Henley, which religion or where was he from? Was he an American, Indian, British? When was he born? When did he die? What was he? Was he a poet or a writer? All of these questions can come as MCQ questions, and you want to aim for full marks and ace your exam. Right? So before we even do that, let's quickly first talk about the theme of the poem, which is actually the most important thing. The theme of the poem is suffering and resilience, and our estimation was pretty close. Why? Because the poem is about suffering. And why resilience? How you get back up from how many ever sufferings or difficulties or hardships that your life goes through, of course. Suffering and resilience is something that this poem talks about. This poem is all about resilience in the face of suffering. The poet in this poem goes through a lot, but even after all the hardship, he stands strong and unconquerable and unbeatable. Resilience means to recover something from difficulties or toughness. So, doesn't it make sense? Suffering and resilience is something that matches the title and the theme of this poem very well. Invictus is a reminder that life is a difficult journey. I'm sure no one in this world has a perfect life with only happiness. Life knocks you down some or the other time, but the way you live that is your choice. So life is a difficult journey for everyone. Be it in your childhood or in your adulthood. You may come through some or the other difficulties. But the poet over here seeks to inspire readers with his endurance, Despite him being beaten time and again, the poet picks himself up and keeps going. He is certain that his belief in himself and his determination not to give up will see him through every hardship he will face. And by the way, Invictus is also a Latin word which means undefeated, so that's why we can say Invictus it means basically unbeatable, unconquerable, and of course undefeated. So this was all about the poem and everything. Now I know you are not looking forward to know about the poet, and I'm sorry, William Ernest Henley, but we will just talk over it in a fun way that I'm sure you will also like. Okay, so William Ernest Henley is the poet of this poem, of course. His birth was in 1849 to 1903. He was a British poet and writer. At the age of 14, actually, Henley, this is a real life story. William Ernest Henley, he contracted tuberculosis of the bone and his left leg was amputated. Despite his ill health, Henley had a full active life for many, many years, and becoming a renowned editor and publisher in his time. So now you see, right, where Henley is coming from when he says that life has beaten him again and again. He didn't have one whole leg. Plus his problems of old age. At a very, very young age, he didn't have his left leg, and due to his old age, the doctor has said that your right leg will also have to be amputated. But he did not give up. He fought his disease, how you pronounce that word, and he became a really very famous writer. And this poem is by far the best poems that you will ever come across. Fun story, when I read this poem first, this poem is deep. Why would anyone like it? But when I actually understood the meaning and about the poem and about the author as a whole, I fell in love with this poem, and I honestly love this poem. It's almost like, if you understand the deep meaning of this poem, right, you will be able to ace your exam first, and you will almost feel very emotional about how life is a difficult journey. But at the end, you are the master of your faith and you are the captain of your soul. These are two motivational lines that you all should also put up on your room, because it really helps you in your life. Perfect. Now enough of this deep meaning. Let's get back to our fun usual thing that we do. So with this, we come to an end of this poem. We have covered all the poetic devices. We have covered the rhyming scheme, and we have also covered all our paragraphs and meanings. Furthermore, we have referred to our word meanings and also about the poet. One question that, as always, I would like to give you to take home is, how do you usually react when you are faced with problems or failures? Why is it necessary to not lose hope during times of difficulties? I want you to write this question down and post it in the comment section. I will love for all of you, for the lovely answers that will come out of your smart mind, and I'll be waiting. And that's it from me to you today. I hope you understood, and once again, if you have any doubts, please post it in the comment section. Like, share, subscribe, and comment. Bye.